Today is Friday, February 7th. We're talking about President Trump's latest drastic plans for downsizing the federal government and how the White House is addressing what it's calling an anti-Christian bias in America. Plus, we're talking about new changes coming to air traffic control in the wake of a deadly plane crash, how the Boy Scouts are celebrating their 115th anniversary, and everything to know about the Super Bowl, from the game to the ads to the performances, even the Taylor Swift effect. Those stories and even more news to know coming up.
Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this.
Millions of federal workers are facing new uncertainty over the future of their jobs. You'll remember yesterday was the original deadline to decide whether they wanted to resign and get paid through September or stay on. Well, a judge is pausing that process, at least for now. Labor unions that have sued to stop the buyout say the Trump administration doesn't have the authority or the funding to go through with this offer. And the judge will be hearing their legal challenge on Monday. So the judge is saying no further action can be taken, at least until the court hears arguments. Though the Trump administration says this just delays the deadline for federal employees to decide about the buyout through Monday. Ultimately, it's not clear what this will actually mean. Already, more than 60,000 federal employees have accepted the buyout. It's just one way President Trump and his allies are hoping to drastically reduce and reshape the federal workforce. And the General Services Administration says layoffs are likely if too few employees choose to quit through the buyout. In fact, the White House asked federal agencies to identify any employees who received less than a fully successful performance rating in the past 3 years so it can figure out who to let go. Some departments are also expanding pathways for early retirement. Plus, we've told you about how the Trump administration working to dismantle the U.S. Agency for International Development called USAID. And now news outlets like the AP and Reuters say the Trump administration plans to keep fewer than 300 USAID employees out of more than 10,000. Critics say the move will effectively kill an agency that's kept tens of millions of people around the world from dying. But the Trump administration says it doesn't need USAID to provide assistance to foreign countries, and it will continue to offer aid that aligns with Trump's America First vision. Separately, there are plans to cut thousands of federal health workers. The Wall Street Journal reports President Trump is working on an executive order to fire thousands of people who work for the FDA, CDC, and other health agencies. And if he goes through with it, the order is expected to come as soon as next week. The man behind the controversial Project 2025 proposal was just given one of the most influential positions in the federal government. The Senate confirmed Russell Vought as the White House budget director, despite especially strong objections from Democrats. Dems held a 30-hour protest over Vought's nomination. They stayed at the Capitol overnight, delivering speeches in which they warned Vought was Trump's most dangerous nominee. But Republicans all backed him, saying he was a qualified candidate, especially since he had the same position during President Trump's first term. Vought described the job as the best, most comprehensive approximation of the president's mind. He has said it should be involved in all aspects of the White House policy process, and he believes in giving the president more power. So despite what laws Congress passes, he says Trump should be able to decide not to spend money on anything he deems unnecessary. In the past, he's proposed making deep spending cuts and, quote, dismantling the woke and weaponized bureaucracy. Now he's getting to work on the White House's upcoming budget proposal. Stay tuned. The Trump administration is now suing the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago for undermining the president's immigration crackdown. It's the first legal action of its kind since Trump took office 2.5 weeks ago. It points to a state law that generally keeps local officials from participating in immigration enforcement, as well as Chicago's Welcoming City Ordinance. That one says police cannot arrest people based on immigration status alone, and it limits what information they can share with federal authorities. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says his state just wants to prioritize law enforcement resources for fighting crime. But the Trump administration says immigrants here illegally are making communities less safe. Meanwhile, Illinois is already suing the Trump administration over its immigration policies. It joined more than 20 other states in lawsuits looking to block Trump's plans to do away with birthright citizenship for children of parents who are in the U.S. illegally. And so far, judges seem to be on their side. For the second time in 2 days now, a federal judge blocked Trump's birthright citizenship order. He described it as the president's attempt to ignore the Constitution for political gain. But the White House says birthright citizenship is a magnet for illegal immigration and is being exploited. Another hearing is set for today, and yet another on Monday. While the matter is being sorted out in the courts, Trump's order is on hold. The biggest single event in American sports is happening this weekend. We're talking about Super Bowl Sunday in New Orleans. For the second time in 3 years, it will be the Kansas City Chiefs facing the Philadelphia Eagles. But of course, the game is just one of many reasons people will be tuning in. The halftime show is also one of the most coveted gigs in the music industry. And this year, Kendrick Lamar will become the first solo rapper to headline the show. There's also the commercials, and dozens of brands bought spots this year for ads complete with tons of celebrity cameos. There will, of course, be big names in the stands, too. Besides the usual celebs, there are plans for President Trump to become the first sitting president to attend a Super Bowl. Plus, there's the Taylor Swift effect. The global pop superstar is credited with introducing the NFL to millions more fans around the world, especially young women and girls. And once again, she's expected to be there to cheer on her football player boyfriend, Travis Kelce. He and the rest of the Chiefs are the favorites to win. But the Eagles will be doing everything in their power to keep that from happening. So you can watch the game on Fox or stream it on Tubi. Kickoff is 6:30 Eastern. More news still ahead, but first, thanks to our sponsor, Quince. I am over the days of buying something super cheap to wear once or twice, and then it either falls apart or it's just not trendy anymore. Now I like quality, even a little luxury, though I still need it to be affordable. And that's where Quince comes in. Quince offers a range of high-quality items at prices within reach, like 100% Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50, washable silk tops and dresses, organic cotton sweaters, and 14-karat gold jewelry. The best part? All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. I love that. My most recent get was a wool quarter-zip pullover. I adore how soft and warm it is, and I so appreciate that I can throw it on for a quick casual look or dress it up to be more sophisticated. So give yourself the luxury you deserve with Quince. Go to quince.com/newsworthy for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/newsworthy to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/newsworthy. Now back to the news. Just as one winter storm moves out of the U.S., another is threatening millions of Americans this weekend. Winter weather alerts have been posted for cities that stretch from the eastern Rockies and Dakotas to New York City and Boston. Some of the worst of it is expected tomorrow when places like Minneapolis, Milwaukee, and Detroit could get their biggest snowstorm of the winter so far. Parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania could get hit with more ice and then a burst of snow. And then by Sunday, it's going to hit New England, where about half a foot of snow is expected to fall. And this comes just after a winter storm left sheets of ice across parts of the Appalachians, Mid-Atlantic, Midwest, and Plains, followed by heavy rain and some flooding. And even more winter storms are in the forecast for next week. Investigators are still working to get to the bottom of a deadly mid-air collision between an American Airlines plane and a U.S. military Black Hawk helicopter. And yesterday, they briefed lawmakers on what they've learned so far. Apparently, they told senators a key safety system was turned off on the helicopter. That system would have helped air traffic controllers better track the helicopter's movements. But it's not clear if having it on really would have prevented the crash. And a lot more questions have to be answered to know exactly what went wrong. Investigators are hoping to learn more when all pieces of wreckage are removed from the Potomac River. In the meantime, the FAA is reducing the number of flight arrivals at Reagan National Airport. The agency already imposed restrictions on helicopter flights around the airport, and 2 of the lesser-used runways are still closed. But President Trump wants to see even more dramatic changes. He suggested Congress fund a completely new air traffic control system that would make accidents impossible. Elon Musk also says his Department of Government Efficiency will work to make rapid safety upgrades, though it's not clear what those will be. It's also worth noting staffing is a concern. At this point, the FAA is about 3,000 air traffic controllers short of staffing levels, and the shortages are expected to get much worse if Trump goes through with his buyout offer for federal workers. To be continued. President Trump signed an executive order to root out what he called anti-Christian bias in the U.S. He announced what's now known as the Task Force to End the War on Christians, saying it will get rid of any kind of anti-Christian policies or practices. Plus, the president created a new White House faith office and a commission on religious liberty. But not all Christians are on board. A Baptist pastor who heads the Interfaith Alliance accused the president of being hypocritical. He pointed to the Trump administration allowing immigration raids in churches and defunding faith-based charities. But the pastor who's been tapped to lead the new faith office called Trump the greatest champion of religion, of faith, and of God of any president to date. This weekend, the Boy Scouts of America organization is celebrating its 115th anniversary. And with that, it's officially changing its name to Scouting America. It's meant to reflect a new mission of inclusivity, especially since girls are now allowed in. The plan to change the name was actually announced last year, and the group's CEO says there was some backlash, but a lot of support. He pointed to a small uptick in new scouts joining. There are now more than 1 million members. To celebrate the organization's big birthday, sites around the U.S. will be illuminated in red, white, and blue. For example, Niagara Falls and the Empire State Building. Then a redesigned flag with the Scouting America brand will be raised next week at the Texas headquarters. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, this episode of The Newsworthy is brought to you by Wildgrain. Wildgrain is the first bake-from-frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, pastries, and pastas. Wildgrain's boxes are fully customizable to your tastes and dietary restrictions. From their classic variety box to their recently launched gluten-free box and plant-based box that is 100% vegan. Best of all, they take the hassle out of baking since all the items bake from frozen in just 25 minutes or less with no mess or cleanup. Having warm, flaky croissants to wake up to is such a delight. Not to mention their amazing pastas that make dinner time feel special, yet are so easy and quick. My whole family was happy. Are you ready to bring all your favorite carbs right to your doorstep? Be sure to check out Wildgrain so you can begin building your own box of artisanal breads, pastas, and pastries. For a limited time, Wildgrain is offering our listeners $30 off their first box, plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/newsworthy to start your subscription. You heard me, free croissants in every box and $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/newsworthy. That's wildgrain.com/newsworthy, or you can use the promo code newsworthy at checkout. Now back to Feel Good Friday. A second-grade teacher has found a way to make math more fun, thanks in part to the success of the Philadelphia Eagles. Amber Kiley teaches at a charter school in Philadelphia, and this year she decided to do something special and different. She told her students to practice their math skills by counting rushing statistics held by Eagles running back Saquon Barkley. And with Barkley, they get a lot of practice. This year, he became just the 9th player in the NFL to surpass 2,000 rushing yards in a single season. Miss Kiley's class has apparently embraced the football-inspired lessons as they learn place values and sometimes even watch football highlights. The teacher says the students have learned some non-math lessons, too, about kindness, selflessness, and perseverance. And now they're more excited than ever for the big game. When word got out, sports merchandise company Fanatics sent Kiley and all of her second graders Eagles t-shirts to cheer on their favorite team this Sunday. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode all about the AI race between the U.S. and China. Then join us again on Monday for another Daily News Roundup. For now, thanks so much for listening and have a great weekend.